Am I going port or starboard? I can't remember.
Are you okay? Maybe you had better take a rest, in case the blow was more severe.
I'm okay.
Maybe you should have kept those pills, Zelna.
Zelna, up here.
I think it came from up there.
Well done. I accidentally skipped dialogue. I do that a lot. I thought that was moving.
You just wanted to get a breath of fresh air.
But the fast forward things are just skips.
Zelna, look who we have here.
Well, if that's not our shadow.
And our stowaway.
Spent any time hiding in a trunk recently?
Me do nothing.
He claims to be part of the crew. Just wanted to get some fresh air.
Of course.
Black curly hair. Didn't the
Baroness won't open the door, sir.
Understood. Take him to the detention cell, Robert.
Oh, the conductor did from the Orient Express, who was the shadow on, who I think was the shadow on the train. So he's with the Raven.
You were right. There was a stowaway.
Huzzah!
Yes, but he can't be the Raven. He's too young.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the Raven isn't lurking here as well.
What was that?
A shot!
It came from one of the cabins.
The Baroness. That's why it's.
No.
That's why it was locked.
Baroness von Trebitz? Baroness, open the door.
Step aside, please.
We have a murder on our hands, gentlemen. Hurry, Zelna. The murderer still has to be nearby. There's practically no one on deck. Anyone who's outside is a suspect. This time, we'll get him.
Whoa!
Zelna, are you okay?
Yes. Come on. We have to.
Zelna? Zelna! Merde!
Oh dear. Whoa! Alarm! Alarm! Alarm? Alarm. What's going on?
Ah, you awake? Sleep well, did you?
I didn't sleep all day. Oh, go on. We gotta be sarcastic. Yes, thank you.
I like to sleep late when I take a cruise.
While everyone else is hard at work.
Oh, come on. You're British. You're meant to understand sarcasm. I'm disappointed in you. What knocked me out like that?
I didn't pass out last night because of the blow to my head, did I?
Seems unlikely. Inspector Legrand thinks you were drugged.
But how? The champagne?
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Gebhardt.
Captain DeConti.
Well, technically, but
Interesting.
it was from Gebhardt. It was from Gebhardt. The glass of champagne was Gebhardt's. He passed it to DeConti, who then gave it to us because it wasn't his one, because his was in his left hand. Which leaves... Yeah, it leaves two possibilities. Either Gebhardt drugged it and was giving it to someone, possibly the Baroness, in which case he would be the murderer, or someone else had given him the champagne so that he would be drugged and then wouldn't be able to save the Baroness. So, basically, anyone could still be the suspect. Oh, but then again, she was worried about him before, wasn't she? I think. So it could be that he drugged her. But he wasn't with us when she got shot. That is a problem. I'll have to think about this later. The glass of champagne.
It should be possible to find traces of the tranquilizer in the glass.
That is exactly what Legrand is trying to do.
Hooray!
Without a laboratory?
Oh, he's got a lab. His cabin is packed with all the latest forensic stuff. It's quite impressive what the inspector can do.
A competent man, no doubt. And surprisingly well prepared.
And diligent. He's been at it all night with his brushes and tinctures and glasses and everything, working like a man possessed. I wouldn't want to be the Raven now.
What do we think? Well, what's happened?
What's the state of play? How was the Baroness killed?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We'll know more once the doc finishes examining the body in the medical centre.
And no one saw anything suspicious?
No one saw a shadowy Raven leaving the Baroness's cabin, if that's what you mean. A lot of people heard the gunshot. Inspector Legrand wants to question the passengers again this morning, once they've all calmed down, and he's had a chance to examine the evidence.
What was the evidence?
I suppose that you and Legrand inspected the crime scene and the surroundings.
Of course. And we already hit the jackpot. The murder weapon.
Really? Where did you find it?
On the gangway. The gangway for boarding the ship folds up and hooks onto the hull when it's not being used. The murderer probably wanted to throw the gun into the sea. He casually dropped it overboard.
But it landed on the gangway.
Bad luck.
But Legrand and I were on the side deck right after the shot. There was no one there.
Maybe the murderer threw the gun away later. We recovered it in the early hours.
Are there any suspects?
Have you arrested anyone yet?
You mean besides the Arab?
He could hardly have committed the murder. You must have been with him when it happened.
We heard the shot on the forecastle. I locked our friend in the detention cell in the cargo hold and then went up to assist Legrand. You were already sleeping the sleep of the just.
Any other suspects?
Any other suspects?
No. Seconds after the alarm went off, the decks were swarming with frightened passengers.
Yes. A clever way to stay incognito during the commotion.
But we still have our primary suspect, the Raven.
You really think he's returned?
Well, I think that no one knows as much about the Raven as Legrand.
What about the Raven?
But still, it all seems so incredible. I think I'll look for Inspector Legrand now.
Do what you think's best.
You won't get rid of me. I'm here to stay, Constable Oliver.
Be that as it may, Inspector Legrand ordered me to guard the cargo hold with our special guest. That's fine by me. Inspector Legrand may be able to get by without sleep for days on end, but not me. It's not easy playing with the big boys, Constable Zellner.
No, it certainly isn't.
So everything seems to point to Gebhardt, apart from the fact that he was with us with the gunshot. Maybe this is one of those like Jonathan Creaky type things. Yeah, Jonathan Creaky kind of locked door. It is because she was shot in a with a locked door that had to be kicked down. There was no way out. She's been shot. Who shot her? Right. The way she was lying down, she was lying on the bed. There is very little chance, one would assume, of... Oh, it depends what the weapon is. But if it's a rifle... kind of thing, they might be able to, like, shoot it in from a porthole. If it's a pistol, they wouldn't... I don't think they'd be able to do that with sufficient accuracy. From outside, so they'd have to be inside to shoot her. Now... Okay, we were drugged. Why drug her? So, we were drugged. Now, if we assume that... Now, we got the glass from Gebhardt. So, if he is the principal suspect, which I think he should be, then he must have given that to the Baroness. Why drug her? Because then she looks like she's out cold, she looks dead. He's the one who checks. Why question it? Why question it if he says she's already dead? So, what if she wasn't dead then? And that would have to be some kind of recording of a gunshot, which would explain the gunshot in the cargo hold. So that must have been, presumably, Gebhardt firing the shot and recording it, then playing it back. So, assumably, there's enough blank for him to be assumably in the saloon through here. So there's a lot of witnesses. Oh, he was at the bar having a drink. Boom. Gunshot goes off. He comes through and makes sure he's the one there first. Obviously, he's the doctor. He's going to check on her. She's still alive, but he declares her dead. Who's going to question that? And then later he can come back and kill her, but there's been no further reports of a gunshot. What if he used some kind of chemical to kill her? It's quite possible. I'd assume he'd have some access to some kind of lethal dosage of poison he could inflict. And of course, forensics isn't far enough ahead that anyone would be able to check, especially not out here on the cruise. He then drops the gun on the gangplank very deliberately, so it looks like it's been thrown overboard, but whereas in fact, it's just there to make people go, oh yeah, it was the murder weapon. Right. Really? Is that what we're going with? The gunshot, but there was a gunshot before in the cargo hold. That makes sense. Now, there's no other reason unless someone got really, really angry at a crate, other than you want to record it in somewhere that's quite quiet and away from everyone. Why record it? Because you're not gonna. Because you want people to think they're dead. When you want to think there's been a shot when there hasn't been. So that would make sense. Yeah, I think that's so. Dr. Gebhardt did. I think Dr. Gebhardt. Like all my brain is just like Dr. Gebhardt. So he did it by killing her later than we think she died. Right. There we go. That's my thought process. Let's go and talk to Legrand. Right. What's this? Oh, pinboard. A model?
An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of fun.
Hooray! Can we look at the model? Yeah, we can. Hooray!
A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins, and the saloon were added later.
Plant.
A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less dreary. A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since a plant won't survive long without daylight.
No, we don't want to go upstairs. We've got to talk to the alarm.
An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off.
Ooh.
The security seal is intact.
So we can look to see which one was done. Was used.
I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather plain, shall we say.
We'll go and examine the door to Legrand's cabin.
That is Legrand's cabin.
Well done. Should we look at anything? Oh, we've already. We'll go in.
Come in.
Yeah, yeah. I like someone who hasn't had their caffeine or sleep. I don't think you've had sleep, mate.
Ah, Zellner. Are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Hmm?
That's why you have a headache.
I thought it was the bump on the noggin, but...
I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
So you're saying I was drugged?
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
No, it wasn't De Conte. It came from Gebhardt. Not sure.
I think it was the captain. But he could have got the glass from someone else.
Yeah.
Find out.
Understood.
Circumstances of the crime. Oh, safe. Circumstances of the crime.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Would the jewel thief be the murderer?
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
How would he... How did he get out of the cabin? Unless there's like another room in the cabin. Could be like a... I don't know. Maybe there's like a... I don't know. Like maybe she'd have an ensuite cabin. That kind of blows out my theory. Because someone could have just waited in the bathroom. Oh, we'll have to have a look. The murder weapon.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
No.
Not a bit.
Neither do I.